Hey everybody, Dave Morello, your shipyard modeler here, and this is a teaser for my Akagi model. Um, Now the diorama it's sitting on is the Enterprise diorama. The Akagi is noticeably larger, by the way. Um, just I haven't quite finished that diorama. The right side bow wave is a little bit short compared to the left side in height, so I got to build it up just a little bit more. It won't take long, but it's kind of tedious, and I'm going to be doing that later today. Now the Akagi, this is done on a red-brown base coat with a Vallejo Model Air natural wood over that. Now the way I did this, this is a Hasegawa 700 scale model. It didn't come with planking. I mean, there's no molding in the deck for planting. It's just flat, machined flat, except for the areas where the arrestor wires and certain things that go across the deck. Those are molded in. So what I did was I took the Model Air and painted sideways, very carefully perpendicular to the deck, with a stiff bristle stiff bristle brush. Um, and it takes about 3 or 4 coats to get the right modulation between the red brown undercoat and the natural wood overcoat. Um, and if eventually you end up with a dry brush effect. The idea is always going perpendicular to the length of the deck, and you end up with simulated planking. That's if you look at this, it looks like it's got planking, but it doesn't. That's just brush strokes. It's 100% paint. The stripes I masked in, all the stripes, the arrows, and the ship name in Japanese there on the back are done with stencils. There's a little bit of overspray on the arrows and a little bit of bleed that I can clean up on the ship name. Now, that's just the back there, that stripe, that big dark strip is the same color as the rest of the ship. That's the hull color. And because of that, I can just come in and edge the slight I had a little bit too much paint, and it just kind of went over the edges of the number a little bit. I'll be able to clean that up with a brush. I had to use thinner to clean up the overspray on the arrows. The reason it was overspray is I used metal. God, I can't think this morning. Metal stencils, like thick PE material that I got, and for like 5 different Japanese aircraft carriers. It's great because they're reusable. This is my first working with them, and I learned a lot when I'm working with them. There is a little bit of overspray on the arrows, and I fixed that on the outside as well as I could, pretty well in fact, just by using thinner. Now, important to note is that the Vallejo is water-based, so the spray, the white, is all enamel. So I can come and hit the enamel with thinner and scrape it off, wipe it off, and the thinner doesn't react with the water-based Vallejo, so it doesn't take it off. And I can clean up those arrows, which I did as well as possible, without damaging or discoloring the underpaint too much. In other words, it's a little bit lighter color around that arrow. If you look close, you'll notice that, but it doesn't stand out. I was able to get all the white overspray out, because what happened was the stencil doesn't lay flush because there's a molded raised arrestor wire right there, so there's no way to make it flush with the deck, so you get overspray up towards the front. If you look real close with magnifying glass, you can see it, but I think I got it well enough to call it a professional job. The stripes on the rear have to be redone. I'm going to have to measure out and cut the strips. I tried eyeballing it, and not all the stripes are the same width, so that'll be redone. And those forward slots where they catch the airplanes, that would be just forward and aft of the forward elevator hull. I'm still working on those. Those are actually supposed to be hull colored, and you can see the red brown undercoat still because I more or less just dry brushed them. Now, if I were looking at it, if you're looking at it at a different angle, they look hull colored. But when you're looking at them from the top like this, you can see the red brown undercoat in the recesses there, and I'll have to work on that. Um, Basically, I was trying to avoid masking, so I did a very light paint over the raised parts. So basically I'm going to have to mask those off and hit them with a wet paint to get down into the recesses. So anyway, that's the teaser on the Akagi. I painted it with Rust-Oleum red rusty metal for base coat. Dry brushed on the first. I wet brushed the first attempt, and when I masked it, took a big peel off, and I had to strip the whole thing. By the way, this has been 100% stripped already and repainted because of that. When you put your undercoat on, don't put it on too heavy if you're going to be masking, because if the paint's heavy enough to peel, the mask will take it off in big peels, and that's what happened. Big thumb size hunk came off, and there's no way to match it up when you're using modulation dry brush over an undercoat, so I had to strip the whole thing and start it over again. But that didn't take as long as you might think, at least I think a few hours, you know. I worked on it while I was watching TV and stuff, so I didn't really keep track of any time. So yeah, that's anything else I wanted to say about this thing. Oh yeah, the arrows and the stripes, the dotted stripes, all that's done according to guides that were molded into the deck. I.e., there's little raised sections that show each stripe, and all of these follow that exactly. Okay, so I looked at pictures, artwork of the Akagi, and a lot of their lines aren't lining up the way my lines are, but I'm following the guides that are already on the deck. So just to make a caveat there, when you see the finished model, it's going to be based on the guidelines that are provided on the model itself for decals. This model didn't come with decals. In fact, I can't find a model with decals unless I want to pay $50. And then I still have to buy this one because that's a full hull model, and the customer wants a waterline model with a diorama. So I'm not willing to spend an extra $50 just to get decals. So I've spent $20 to get the brain dead on that word. The guides for painting, the little PE stencils. There we go, stencils. What's wrong with me? I can't think of that word for some reason. Yes, probably because I don't paint masks and all that very often. But you know, given that I don't ever like to do this, I'm actually converting from that. I just thought it would be so hard, but it was tedious, but it wasn't what I would call hard. So, but on the rear, where the red and white stripes are, I'm going to have to redo that, and I'm going to have to like break out a straight edge, a measurer, and do that really super technically to make sure all those stripes are the same width, which is the problem I have right now. I looked at them and, you know, wondered if I, just touch. There's a little overspray here and there, seeped into the mask, and I can fix that. But the stripes themselves are kind of not consistent in width, so that part will have to be redone. So anyway, yeah, this is the teaser and some talk about the undercoat. The second undercoat I just dry brushed right onto the plastic, the enamel Rust-Oleum rusty metal, instead of just wet brushing it. In other words, I've basically just pressed it onto the model instead of flowing it onto the model. So that made the base coat thin enough so that it wouldn't peel, and I was able to mask the model successfully after that without any problems. So be careful about your undercoat if you're going to mask. Make sure it's not too heavy, because it'll peel off like the size of your thumb, and you're going to go, oh no, that sucks. So anyway, let me know what you think. I think she's coming out pretty good. The arrows, although there was a little overspray, they're still sharp. In other words, they still flash on the deck, and that's what I'm looking for. The overspray isn't noticeable unless you look really close, and I don't really see any way to fix it between the arrows. I was able to get pretty clean lines on the outside of the arrows. So anyway, let me know what you think. This is Dave. I'll see you later.